Okay, let's start with Brady Tkachuk, who is American but plays up in Canada and just got cross-examined by some woke Canadian female sportscaster.
I heard KK talking about you, Abby Murphy, but do you understand how they could feel pretty put down by that moment?
I mean, I get it. I think, I don't really, of course, I have no really other comments other than, for the things that we can control, and that was, we supported them, they support us. Can't control about, what other people say. By far the best team in that tournament. It was just fun hanging out with them after, picking their brains. They were picking our brains, and it was just fun to be around them.
So then why would you laugh when they got invited?
I mean, I don't really have an answer. Honestly, it was just a whirlwind of a moment that, you can't really control what somebody says, and it just, I guess, caught off guard a little bit. But, when you're talking to the president.
I am so sick of this shit, Amala. This is stomach turning. When will it end?
Oh my gosh, who knows? I'm so tired of the PC police, but I think what happens here is they represent the worst nightmare for the left here, like a group of white men who are triumphant on behalf of the US that are being called by Donald Trump. It was a recipe for disaster from the start here. And I think we got to talk about the joke that Donald Trump made about the women's team and use it to talk about the accomplishment of the men's team here without setting aside that the women did really great at the Olympics. These men have been in a 40-year medal drought when it comes to hockey, 46 years, in fact, and they broke that. The men's team gets more viewers. They have more supporters. This should be an amazing time to unite as Americans and just celebrate something that was awesome. And of course, they're going to laugh. They're in a high. They're in a moment where they've accomplished something really great and for their country. And we should be able to set aside a little joke that may or may not have been in poor taste and allow them to celebrate this moment.
It's ridiculous. Here's the joke again for people who haven't heard it. Trump with the guys in the locker room post-win.
What would really be cool, and we'll do the White House the next day, we'll just have some fun. We have medals for you guys. And we have to, I must tell you, we're going to have to bring the women's team. You do know that. I do believe I probably would be impeached, okay?
A lot of the guys said amazing, said 2 for 2, 2 for 2. Evita, they had no problem with it. And then he followed up with, or I'd be impeached. And they gave him some polite chuckles. And for this, the media is ruining both the men's and the women's celebration of their gold medals.
I mean, a lot of the men in that room seem to be celebrating the women's victory as well. Like the assumption that it's negative and sexist is of course intentional because they want to make everything, as Amala said, a victory for white men somehow a negative, awful thing. And I'd like to ask just every single person who's offended by this, all the journalists, all the female athletes who are left wing, do you guys support trans-identifying men in women's sports? I mean, if you guys can come to the table on that one, then we could have a conversation about whether President Trump is sexist when he calls the team in the locker room to congratulate them. But otherwise, I just don't want to have a conversation about it. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's not just that Canadian journalist, Abby, whatever her name is. The Canadian journalists are, of course, terrible because Canada's so woke and annoying. There's a guy named Damian Cox who writes for the Toronto Star, wrote an op-ed there. And he took issue with one of our players named Austin Matthews, who plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's been playing for them for 10 years. And he's very, very upset that this guy, Austin Matthews, acted happy to win his gold medal, even though he plays for a Canadian team in the NHL. I mean, it's ridiculous. The op-ed is full of a long lecture for Austin about how he's got 2 C's on his jersey. One's for Canada, one's for captain. And that clearly he proved by going to the White House. So he didn't go to the State Union. He went to the White House and had the burgers with the president and shook his hand. That the 1 C, captain, means more to him than the other C, Canada. And had a lecture for him about how he was allowed to celebrate. It was fine for him to go to Miami, according to this writer. But at that point, after that was all done, he could have said, sorry, boys, but I've got to go back to work. He talks about how the Maple Leafs really needed him and they're in serious danger of missing the playoffs. Instead, the Arizona-born pivot chose to jump on a plane for Washington, D.C. to accept an invitation to visit Trump. He went to a luncheon, posed for pictures with Trump, then skipped the dog and pony State of the Union address. He says, apparently, he's blissfully unaware many athletes and teams have declined invitations from the Trump administration. The entire women's hockey team, possibly insulted by the fact that Trump made this joke, said thanks but no thanks. He preferred to exchange his immediate return to the Leafs for the opportunity to shake Trump's hand. When asked about his lack of sensitivity toward Canada, Matthews took the athlete's easy way out. Quote, I don't like to get political or get into that kind of stuff, he said. We get it. You're a proud American, but not a proud Torontonian. Not even verbally supportive of the country that has given you the privilege of living and working here as a non-citizen for a decade. He's outraged. This guy, I can't. I'm like these, sooner or later, our boys are going to have to start telling everyone to fuck off.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at this point, and have you seen them play a game of hockey? Have you seen how rough and masculine that game can be? And here we are being offended by people going to visit the president. And I think we should look a little bit further into his statement. Not only did he say, I don't like to get political, but he sort of alludes to the idea that really anybody would take up this invitation and go to meet the president, regardless of who the president is. And I think what we're falling for here is people who just like to go after Trump. They have TDS syndrome. If this was another president under another administration, we wouldn't be hearing about any of this, the joke, the invitations, the State of the Union. But because it's Donald Trump, it sort of taints everything that happens surrounding our sports, surrounding the celebration of the U.S., surrounding being a U.S. citizen. This guy did nothing wrong, and obviously so.
And now you have the American journalist, just as bad, Evita, just as bad. The new CBS, completely revamped now, right? They're going to be more fair and balanced now under the new leadership. You tell me. Here's SOT 19 on their morning show Thursday, today, CBS Morning.
Okay, moving on to the members of the U.S. hockey team. They're talking now about President Trump's joke that did not land well for some. The men's team visited the White House Tuesday after an invite from the president. In a phone call to the U.S. locker room after Sunday's final game, the president seemed to put down the U.S. women's team, which had also won gold. All right, so the men are taking some heat for laughing along with the president at that joke, the expense of the women's hockey team. Jack Hughes says people are making something out of nothing, and both teams support each other. The majority of the U.S. men's team, of course, attended the State of the Union earlier this week. The women were invited. They declined. They're being celebrated.
I can see why the women are being, I could see why they're offended by it.
Not like
Oh, of course. Gail King would like you to know they have every right, Evita.
You know, at one point, I believe that there's a lot of TDS happening right now, but I think there's just an overwhelming sense of hatred of America. I just saw a Gallup poll. It's 92% of Republicans are proud to be American, only 38% of Democrats. I mean, the disconnect that we have as a country politically, it's not just that they don't like this president. It seems like they hate our country. And we have it, you know, from outside our country too, obviously with Canada and other you know, foreign entities who don't love America. But when you have it in your own house, it starts to become kind of pathological. You start to realize we have a real sickness. And this is coming from all of our institutions. This is why the Trump administration is constantly trying to create reforms, and it's in our education system, in corporate media. I mean, it's become a massive cancer in our society.
Yes, it's really, there's a rot, and that's why they see racism in everything. They see bigotry in everything. Just quickly, here's Representative Maxine Dexter. She's a Democrat from Oregon on the latest finding of racism where it doesn't exist. SOT 58.
Please ask for the science-based regimens, not whatever RFK Jr. is getting kickbacks on, or whatever whole milk, white supremacy, dog whistling that's happening right now. I'm getting a little too political, but
pretty sure she said whole milk is white supremacy. Amala, who knew? Who knew?
I didn't know. I've been drinking whole milk. I haven't become a white supremacist yet. I guess that's on
part
the
of the
way.
problem.
It's just so crazy. I mean, we've heard the left say before that things like working out and going to the gym regularly are extensions of white supremacy. We saw the Smithsonian.
Being on time.
Yes, being on time, saying being polite, believing in any sort of time schedule, having a nuclear family. These things are white supremacy. You could go through a list of just about anything, throw it at a leftist, and I think they would find some way to make it racist, to make it something that is indicative of you being a member of the KKK. And they'll ignore the glaring issues that exist in our society. Our childhood obesity rate, the fact that kids are lacking in like vitamins and nutrients that they can get from whole milk. Can we focus on the issue, or do we have to make everything about white supremacy?
And truly, like, pay attention. We've redone the food pyramid. We are not looking at saturated fat the way we used to. Just do a little reading, madam. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced financial strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold so you too can have peace of mind, regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.